realized there was a so I ordered a new pair. These are my favorite. Look, they magnetize. Anyway, but today I want to talk to you at length and in detail about chicken keeping. And I'm going to go over the whole shebang. So those of you who've been following along with my poultry enterprise, you may want to tune out or you may want to watch. But this is the whole deal. I'm going to go over everything. I'm going to go over my innovations, tips that I've learned from other people. I'm going to go over cage building materials, supplies, tools. Very important stuff if you're tackling this and you kind of don't know what direction you want to go, or you have an idea but you just want to see some tips. This should be rich with material to really inspire you to keep chickens. I also want to talk philosophically about my viewpoint of animal husbandry, especially now, 2023, and as we go forward. And it's very dangerous times and very uncertain times. We have animal CAFOs burning down with hundreds of thousands of animals perishing. A lot of people say this is not coincidence. Somebody's tinkering, and it has to do with the New World Order. Sounds crazy, right? But a lot of stuff that used to sound crazy is turning into fact and reality. So something's going on. I think it's damn important for those of us who can and are blessed with the ability and positioning in life to do so, that we establish some semblance of self-reliance, or at least go that direction. You know, the more of us keeping chickens and raising vegetables and gardens and feeding ourselves to whatever degree, the more the better, you know. So we'll go into that as well. But let's get started. I'll talk for 15 or 20 minutes, and I'm going to show you up close how I would like to be shown these little tricks. And you can read the description below for the comments for other people's tips and pointers. And maybe I'll have some links to the tools and materials that I'm talking about below. All right, so let's look around, and hopefully this will be helpful to you. All right, so this is where my operation started. I built this little hen house. And if you're thinking of keeping chickens, ideally you build everything first and then you get your flock. And you're going to have, if you get baby chicks, you're going to have to put them in a brooder and keep a lamp on them and keep them fed and watered and clean to get them to laying hen age. You know, that's 6 months down the road before you're going to have eggs. But just keeping them alive and safe. But I would really recommend building as much as you can first, because you're going to be you're finding yourself racing against the clock at every turn if you don't get started before you bring home the chicks. Get yourself a brooder, look online, find a good brooder, build your own. I can show you that as well. Okay, so but here what I've opted for, I'm going to show you everything, okay? So stay with me. I opted to build this with a rustic look. I was trying to find aged barn wood and all that, and I thought, hell man, this is going to look aged after a year or so in the weather anyway. So what I used is pickets for exterior. Now you can insulate better than that. Obviously weather's going to get through there, but these are farm animals. They're by design, they're in nature, they're built to endure harsh environs. So this is plenty sufficient. They can roost in here. This is, you know, and I've talked about this before. This is all fence pickets. I think it's kind of cool. This is a piece of fireplace guard. This is not expensive, something I bought at an estate sale. This too, a brass knob. I just wanted to make this kind of charming. Let's start here. Now, the idea was, I have kept chickens before, all kinds of poultry, everything from emus to turkeys, you name it. And I have had a lot of death. Everybody, my friend was joking recently what we've all joked about in the past who've had farms or animals. It's a lot of death and rape. It seems. It's just these are creatures that they're really quite savage. They're primitive. They're animals. So, but there's always a lot of death. But I haven't experienced that because this time I wanted to do it without all the death. I had everything that eats chickens eat my chickens. That's neighbors' dogs, fox, hawks, possums, coons, eagles, any predator birds. Just everything that likes chickens will eat your chickens, and everything that's carnivorous likes chicken. This, by the way, is how I usually have the floor. Just wire so the poop goes right through. Had a walkboard in here for a while when someone was helping out. So this is the hen house. I roofed it with this material. I think it's $20 a sheet. It's like an asphalt material I got at the builder supply. It's very economical, and framed it with 2x. I did an odd kind of framing. I just wanted to try this horizontal framing because I'm going to put laying boxes inside. This top should not be off of here. I have a video that you can watch about how to create these feeders that the chickens can trigger just by pecking that little hanging thing there. And all that is an eye bolt. And as you see, they're eating food that they've already dispensed by themselves. So this is completely automated. You can put, I don't know, 15 pounds of feed in a 5-gallon bucket. You can hang 2, you can hang 3, however big your flock is. But you see, did you see the chicken just peck that and then the food comes out? And all that is a little couple of nuts and washers and a spacer to give it some ballast, some weight. And the eye bolt and a 1/2-inch hole. I can show you. I've done a whole video about this, so you can watch it, or you can just look at this and see how you do it. See that? The chicken's pecking at it. Do it again. Do it again. Okay. Well, they're not getting any feed because I have got to add feed to this. But I'm telling you, it'll be a week. I can leave this go for a week. And everybody's ready to lay money down for, $150 for these no waste stainless box feeders or galvanized boxes, and they most definitely are wasteful. This is a no waste feeder, a true no waste feeder. As far as chickens pooping where they eat, that's always. You're never gonna be able to avoid that. They're gonna poop where they eat. So you just, like I say, keep them healthy, keep them not medicated, but I like to treat them with oregano oil, things like that fight bacteria. Let me tell you about purchasing chicks. You're going to want to buy sexed. In other words, they're supposed to be sexed, and the people sexing them are supposed to know what they're doing, so that you end up with hens, not roosters, like this guy right here. This guy right here, sadly, after raising him, I'll probably have to kill him and feed him to the animals. The tom I won't. I wanted a tom. I wanted a breeding pairs, and I like male turkeys because they do not crow like roosters. I won't do that to my neighbors. It is so inconsiderate to have these roosters crowing near your neighbors and not say anything about it, but I guarantee you're annoying the hell out of somebody, and it's not cute, it's not funny, there's nothing good about that. If you live in a neighborhood not way out in the country on your own, you should not do that to your neighbors. As I've said, they may not even say anything, but it annoys the hell out of them when these things start crowing at 4 or 5 in the morning. It's ridiculous. Anyway, I don't like it myself. But I'll end up, so you buy sexed birds, you're still gonna, if you buy straight run, they just don't know or care what they are, and you end up with what you get, right? The sexed, it's hit and miss. You will end up with mostly hens. So what I'm getting to is when I bought this flock, I bought 16, thinking I'll have maybe 4 die and I'll end up with a flock of 12 hens, or I'll have a couple of roosters and I'll get rid of them. It looks like I'm going to end up with 11 or 12 hens as far as chickens go. So keep that in mind. And as for mortality rate, I've had 0. I've had to actually we're getting close to laying age, and I've had to kill 1 rooster so far because he was becoming very aggressive and obnoxious, which is what they do. They're loaded with testosterone. So keep those things in mind. Lace everything up. See how every nook and cranny is laced with this poultry netting. You can't really see it. Coons will sneak in any crack, and you don't want them to be killed unnecessarily. Okay, here is the waterer, and here I have a toilet valve. I've shown this before. That's a toilet valve. That makes sense, right? And it always stays at that level, just as a toilet tank does. I've got to come tighten that up because I see it's dripping. But you can see I've got just a basic pipe coming in, some to a little hose connected there at the bottom. Does that all make sense? Just like your toilet. And then it's got a drinker. I need to put another drink cup or 2, but this, for this small flock, this has been perfect. Always fresh, clean water. And I put oregano oil in there. That helps with their digestive tract. It's like an antibacterial. It's a great thing. It keeps the water fresh, and it keeps them healthy. So where's the lid for this? Sometimes they'll jump onto these things, so you want to keep the lids more secure than that. But obviously, last time I fed, I didn't snap this down. Okay, so let's continue on. Obviously, you're going to have roosts. You don't need to have them carpeted. I just happen to have some of these and just a bunch of other material for roosting, and they roost on the collar ties as well. This is essential. Why? Because you'll never forget and leave your door open, and the fox will eat your hens up. In fact, I have some video I can share with you that my neighbor took from her window right there of a fox running along the top of here trying to scare these chickens to get them out. And it didn't work. Okay, why do I have this promenade? There's a reason for that. I wanted to build a long run. See, that covers a lot of ground. It gives them a lot of area to run back and forth. This was just for the start. This was the first outdoor pen. Completely wired in, impervious for, to hawks, fox, possums, everything I talked about. And hopefully neighbors' dogs, but if they have long enough, they will surely get in there. So hopefully we can guard against that as well. The reason I have this promenade is because I want access to this side of the building, because this is where my hen boxes go, as well as the other side. So I kind of designed this to enable the chickens to walk out and get to that run without me having to step over a run that went right into the house. And it's very cool because this is where the automatic door is. In this case, here's the, not advocating any brands. I don't know which is the best. This is the only one I have, but it's photosensitive. When it's dark, when it gets dark at night, it shuts. It goes on this gear, feeds on these teeth, and it lowers that, and it's very secure. And it's basically 6 screws to a wall. You cut a little hole, and there you go. You wire it. This chicken coop is wired and watered, and there I have conduit with wire. Okay, so there we are. Everything is tied up, laced up really, really well. And I keep improving it as I go. Soon the turkeys won't be able to get through here, so they will have another house over here. We'll get to that. I'm not going to recommend this. I don't like to use zip ties because it's too much plastic for the environment. I was in a hurry, but we're going to talk about these supplies right here, this kind of locking wire. Here I just have a piece of shade fabric because chickens don't like to be in the sun all the time. They'll die, they'll dehydrate. If you force them, any animal that you put in the sun, if you forget them in the sun, they die. Here we go. I'm going to show you two examples of these. These are called hog rings, okay? And it's an excellent way to mend fencing or cage wires together. Here is a run that I constructed out of, you can see, what is it, 1, 2, 3, 4 T's. These are all, what are these, 1 inch, I believe, PVC. And so I've got 4 T's and 8 corners. Okay, does that make sense? And just you cut your PVC, and I just thought, hey, why don't I just have something lightweight that I can pull around? So I put drop doors on both ends. I cut a hole in the fence. I'm going to cut another 2 holes over here to give them different areas, because as you see, chickens quickly destroy turf. I mean, in a day. This was grass a day before I put them in. And it was like this. I mean, the day I put them in, it was grass, and then the next day it was like this. So that's what they'll do to this. So you put them out for a couple of hours at a time and let them graze and have fresh pieces of grass for MSM and, just different minerals that they get out of the grass, crickets, doodle bugs, whatever. That's really good for them, and they're very important for them. So we're going to have another opening here, and one over there. And I'll show you another quick, easy way to make a small access port. It doesn't need much explaining, does it? And that way, you do 30 minutes or a few hours, and then you can chase them back into the main cage and close your door, and you're good. Okay, so what is this? This is like a cattle fence or sheep fence. Now, if you do this, you're also, anytime you do this kind of fencing, you want to put underground wire or bricks or rocks. I've got both here. See this wire? It's not only going underground here and up the fence a few inches, but it's secured to this wire. I told you I was going to give you ideas of different types of wire. This is overkill. This is impenetrable. Because, I mean, this cage wire, it's expensive, 1 inch by ½ inch, I think, cage wire. This is considered poultry netting. And this is funny. I know this is quaint to a lot of my neighbors who come from inland and they've grown up on farms or owning CAFOs, which is defined as a concentrated animal feeding operation where you're housing 1,000 animals or more and confining them for 45 days or more. This is my own little CAFO, and it is quaint. But there you go. There's 3 different examples of wires. I've chosen for the sides impenetrable wire, like this. Nothing can get through this. But a possum can kill a chicken easily. They can reach in, or a coon, and they'll tear the heads off of a curious chicken. Because your dogs may be sniffing around here, and your chickens get accustomed to animals, so they see no difference between your dog and a fox or whatever. So they'll be pecking here, and you'll come out and you'll find headless chickens in your pen and wonder why. That's why. Because at dusk, before they went to roost, something came to the cage wire, tried to get them out, and could only get their head. Okay, so what you need to do, what I'm going to do is get poultry netting. And you can do the little 1/4 inch by 1/4 inch if you want extra security, and bring it up as high as a chicken would reach its head out, or a coon could reach its hands in. You see what I mean? So that goes along the bottom. Up here, I just want it nice and tight because a lot of these critters climb. Hawks dive. That's why we have netting. This is, I think you call this polypropylene. I've used this for many years, and I'm still working this annex out. I'm still putting things together, as you can see, right? I just put this piece of wire here. I'm securing everything with these hog rings, just reinforcing everything. See, this is 2 pieces. 4-foot piece of cattle fence, and there's a cut piece right there. Everything is nailed to the wood with these fence staples, you see? And then here is my hog ringer tool. All right, now this is so essential to cage builders. See that spring mechanism right there? Get this kind, not with the one that has a span of a crappy spring. When you're buying these, a lot of them look alike, but some of them are garbage. This is a good one. I don't know who makes this, but maybe you can see it on there. All right, so this goes, with one hand, I can't really do this. Have the wire close enough together that you can join them like that, and then you squeeze, and you collapse that. It's a very, very stiff wire. You cannot open that. And that, my friends, is how you build a cage. I just gave a friend of mine one of these. He was very excited to have it. Okay, so now when you can, wrap your wire around your posts rather than terminating like this. Because if you terminate like this, then you have to spend time bending back your wire. You don't have to do this, but it saves you from having jagged edges that you can cut yourself on. Otherwise, you're going to have to do this. See? Believe me, you want to do that. You're going to really mangle yourself coming out of these doors and just working and moving around. You're going to stick one of these in your arm and you're going to be very sorry. All right, so what is this? $129, I believe, at Tractor Supply. Now, you see how I've secured this? Just with pipe straps, right? Okay, and I've got just the right clearance. We're going to come under here with brick. I got these L-shaped gutter bricks at a brickyard locally. We're just going to do wire rocks and bricks all the way around. But look, did you see how that closed? One hand, watch. When I bought this, it wasn't closing. It was hitting against here. All I had to do was lower this piece. Now, from the inside, let's take the time, take a look. Watch this. Oh no, I'm locked in. Same thing from the inside. It's a two-way. Now I want to show you what I call a spring latch. And this panel on this gate is removable. I've taken the bolts out of it. I've said this before. And I've made it more of a hinge setup with these tie wraps. This, I'm sure you can still find these online. I have quite a few of these in storage from my old farming days. Spring latch, you see. Very simple gadget and very secure. Everything that you secure, you want to close against a stop going inward in case something's pushing. You don't want it to open inwards. You want it to open outwards. That makes sense, doesn't it? So that way an animal can't push its way in. And then good. So you see I've come out to the edge here, and I had to create what I call a crib wire. And this is making maximum use of my property, which kind of terminates with this rock edge, drain edge runoff. And so we're utilizing this portion of the property, and now I can still get my riding mower between that fence and this fence. All right, what else? See the netting? Now for this area, I'm going to build a turkey house up high here for the turkeys to roost and be safe from the weather, as they won't be able to get in that house when they get a little bigger. And then I'm going to create another run all the way past this ginger bed and open into another yard over there. Just keep it going. And that is the beauty of this kind of operation, is you're always expanding, you're always innovating. Okay, and see, the chickens and when they're scratching around, they'll pretty much dig themselves out if you're not careful. They'll create an invitation for vermin. So it's a constant struggle to keep the vermin out, to keep your animals alive. Chick, 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 chick. I like to throw logs in here that have bugs in them. Chick, 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 chick. Now this, I put a lashing on here. Put this on to be able to easily open it. And what can you share in the comments below that might be helpful or useful? Right, this is all treated in case, you know, I didn't know which parts of it would be covered and which wouldn't, to leave a lot of this exposed and just have a roof over the turkey area. This all is going to have to be nailed down. Anyway, so my fascination with animal husbandry began as a child. I think when I was about 10 years old in Ocean Springs, Mississippi. And this was in the early 70s, and 72. And I think at the time it would take five root beer bottles or 5 Coke bottles that I would bring in to the store and get the refunds. You know, back in the day, you would bring the glass bottles for, they said right on a 5-cent refund. And 5 of those would give me 25 cents, which was enough for a chicken. So I bought my first flock of chickens, and they were dead within days. Because when I was digging a hole, I didn't know what I was trying to build, some sort of underground coop, and one of the little chicks ran under the shovel, and I cleft him in half. I think the dog killed another few of them, and they just perished. So, but that's, you know, you learn from these. I learned from trauma. Another traumatic event was my friend, whose hippie parents had just come back from Woodstock, and they were interested in farming. You know, they were well-to-do offspring of rich New Orleans folk, and they lived out in the country in Louisiana. They bought a little farmhouse, and they started raising chickens. Well, they put my best friend and I at 8 or 9 years old in charge of building a chicken coop. That's why I say be prepared before you buy chickens. She bought young pullets. I think they were maybe a couple of months old. And she was like, oh my gosh, you guys build me a chicken yard really quick. I don't have room for these in my tiny little hen house. She bought 2 dozen of them. So she gave us a big spool of 6-foot chicken wire, and we're a couple of little kids out there, and we're trying to create this environment for chickens. And the bird dogs that they kept as pets killed everyone. As soon as we got a makeshift pen together, we put the chickens in. We came out hours later, and there was nothing but feathers and carcasses, legs, heads, wings. They just separated all these animals into pieces. It was very traumatic for a child. And so this is how you learn, and this is why I want to keep everything tight and tidy. For me, believe me, as casual as I am about my environment, this not so much. So anyway, I hope this helps you all. And again, I can't stress enough how important it is to establish some sort of self-reliance. As I say, we'll be getting eggs in 6 months. We don't know what's going on with the prices in store, with inflation, with the CAFOs burning down, and, you know, feed mills burning down. Something is awry. Something is amiss. So if you can do it, I highly recommend doing it. I think it's your responsibility, in a sense, to do it. Okay. Thanks for watching, everyone. Stay well.